Andrew. Hello, Andrew.
Hello, sir. And just wanted to be real clear, as somebody who has the last name Medford, that it was Janet Medford who was doing that stuff, not Medford, just to be clear.
Yes, it's Mefferd. Yeah, different one.
Not Meford, just being clear. But it's actually in relation to that. So I'm sure I, as a supporter of y'all, have supported y'all financially and supported y'all in prayer through dealings with issues with people like Janet Medford and Brennan House. And I stand with y'all on that side. However, at the same time, it would seem that on the political end, that I do see the stuff going on with Islam, well, at least Islamic cultures, making their way slowly into the West. It's more in Europe, but it's definitely here. And so I have at least seen some seeming internal inconsistency of saying that, yes, we need to treat these people with respect, honor, as is said in 2 Peter, but at the same time, what do we need to be doing governmentally? And did you see how those two things could almost seem incongruent on those fronts?
Well, yeah, as a Christian, our first and foremost commandment is to be gospel-bearing individuals and desirous of leading anyone who has been given a false hope, and anyone who understands Islamic theology cannot help but look at a faithful Muslim and be impressed by the devotion that they have to their religion. It's hard to get most Christians to show up on time for Sunday school, let alone have somebody pray 5 times a day.
Right.
You see these individuals, you cannot help but be impressed with their religiosity, and yet at the same time, your heart is broken by the fact that because of the ignorance of the author of the Quran, they are cut off from having a mediator. They have a wrathful God, and they have God's law, and they have a clearer picture of eternal punishment than is found in anything in Christianity, to be perfectly honest with you. That doesn't make it true. It just means that there is this, it's there. And so they're in this horrible position. And so that has to be the first priority in our mind, is whatever we do, we want to be individuals who will not act out of fear or prejudice against the alien or the unknown person. We want to be the person who is going to present the gospel of Jesus Christ in the clearest possible way to these individuals, and trusting that God has his people amongst every tribe, tongue, people, and nation. And when you meet converted Muslims, when you meet individuals who have come to know the truth about who Jesus Christ was, there is a joy that they have that is absolutely infectious, and it's wonderful. It's wonderful to see. At the same time, when we see what's happening in Europe, I think what you're seeing happening in Europe is not so much the strength of a Muslim worldview or Sharia or anything like that. What you have is the dead shell of a dead state Christianity in most of these nations that is simply imploding under its own weight. And Islam is simply filling in like a vacuum. Nature abhors a vacuum, and so it's moving in not on the power of its argumentation or on the power of its culture, but on the fact that dead, decaying Christianity has led to a secular worldview. And that secular worldview is absolutely incapable of really meeting the needs of mankind. And so I hesitate to think, I'm not sure why so many people attribute to Islam some type of powerful impetus when in reality, I think if you look at it, it's not the strength of Islamic arguments. It is the degradation of the secular society in Europe that is leading to the changes in demographics that we're seeing. And so I fully understand the political. We want to have a secure nation. We want to have a nation of laws, and as such, there is a conflict. A Christian is going to be conflicted because we want to have the opportunity to reach out in evangelistic zeal to all people, but a lot of us want to do that at arm's length. And we have the counterbalancing elements, and that is we need, a nation has to have security. You can't just simply throw your borders open. No nation can survive that. It is the end of any type of nation. And the problem is once you don't have nation states anymore, you have to have some major controlling power. And everyone who's volunteering to do that has the wrong worldview. And so it's frightening to even think about secular totalitarianism possessing the kind of technological capacity to track people's activities and their every movement. I don't know what's coming in the future, but I can say this: I don't think Islam is the primary concern in the future for the people of the West. I think secularism is. And
so, continue.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just saying. So it sounds more like you're saying that it's not necessarily speaking of the strength of the Islamic culture and worldview and everything associated with that. It's more speaking to I guess you could say, a house of cards that has been built in Western Europe, and now just with something, even with a little bit of strength like Islam, is just knocking it all down. Oh
yeah, I mean, post-Christian Europe, and let's say post-Christian United States. Look at the moral and ethical chaos that is enveloping us. I mean, if you can't figure out who a boy and a girl is anymore, I'm sorry, your culture is not going to last very long. And say what you will about Islam, at least they know what a boy and a girl is. So, right. just on a basic level, one culture is going to predominate over the other. And so, I am saying, I do not underestimate the fact that we have so many brothers and sisters who suffer in Islamic nations today. But the interesting thing is those who suffer under Islam in Islamic nations are willing to give themselves out of love to proclaim the gospel to their very persecutors. They're not asking that we come in militarily and free them from that. They recognize that would be completely inappropriate Christian perspective, but they would like to be armed, so to speak, with what they need, not only to maintain their own churches and their children in the faith, so on and so forth, but then to respond and to the attacks of Islam and to give a meaningful response. And that's one of the things that we're thankful that we're able to do. And as this past year pointed out, people overseas were unanimous in their excitement as to what we were getting to do, where we were getting to do it, the opportunities of getting the gospel into places that it would generally not go before. And so they trust in the power of the gospel. We need to learn to trust the same thing. It doesn't mean that we do stupid things like throwing borders away and just letting everybody and their 13th cousin come in. There has to, everything needs to be done decently and in order. The problem is that even here in the United States, what's the big issue right now? We don't have a clear worldview undergirding our culture any longer. You're not allowed. Well, it's there, but they're not admitting what it is. And this secular humanistic worldview is incompatible with the system of laws that we have possessed up to this point. Something's going to have to give. Something's going to have to give.
Right.
You've heard me quote John Adams before. The Constitution was written for a moral and religious people. It is utterly incapable to the governance of any other. That's scary. That's scary to me.
Very,
I wish I had easy
very
answers. I wish I had easy answers. The only easy answer that I do have is that as a follower of Jesus Christ, I am called to love and to proclaim his lordship to all people. And everything else has to be prioritized underneath that. And you know what? We're going to have disagreements as to exactly how that's going to work out. I allow for that. I'm not telling everybody they have to absolutely agree with me, but the reason I'm a thorn in certain people's sides is I point out that as Christians, our first motivation cannot be fear. And unfortunately, for many, and I can't tell you, I can't tell you, Andrew, how many people have had contact me who said, you know what? I didn't like it when you first started talking about it, but I've been convicted that I wouldn't speak up and talk to a Muslim because I would have fear, and I've had to deal with that. And so maybe that's what the Lord had intended all along. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But hopefully God gives us grace and peace with that. And just for the record, I'm apologizing in advance for any and all flack you may get for answering this question. So just sorry about that.
Oh, okay. Believe me, I'm so accustomed to it now every day that it's just like, what's it going to be today? Who knows? It'll be interesting.
I believe it.
All
Well,
right.
grace and peace, brother.
All right, thanks. God bless.